Welcome back to Jacques in the Garden. Today we're going to be using this tiny shovel to dig out this raised bed. That's because just over a year ago, I installed this brand new raised bed, filled it with soil, but I did one thing different. That is that I filled the bottom third or so of the bed with wood chips. Now this is traditionally something we would never recommend because usually burying wood chips in soil locks up nutrients, specifically nitrogen, as bacteria tries to consume it. It uses all the nitrogen in the soil, leading to stunted plant growth. Now, if you look behind me, you'll see that there are a couple plants in there. We will be removing those today and fully replant the bed, but I will say that they are clearly not lacking for nitrogen. So I want to dig up the bed, see what the wood chips look like, see if they're left or if they're fully decomposed, which I highly doubt, and we'll see if they look like they're inoculated with fungal life, holding a bunch of water, and then at the end we will refresh the bed, replant it with all summer plantings, and see how the rest of the season goes. So first, let's take a look at the bed, talk about what's been growing in here, how it's done, and then we'll dig into it and see what's left. So overall, this bed has actually been quite the success. I had some summer squash in here in the early part of the season that produced very heavily, and also a whole lot of green chard that's been pumping throughout this bed for a long time. This is actually, I think, the second planting of green chard I've done in this bed, and today we're probably going to be doing the third. So that's a very leafy green, very nitrogen heavy plant, and it did not suffer from the wood chips. Everything grew just fine, everything looks nice, vibrant, and green, and there doesn't seem to be any nutritional issues. Now, the other thing that I have grown in here is actually this melon, which at this point is mostly done for the season. I do want to put some watermelons in this bed specifically because of how well this melon did. I'm talking about a single melon vining out in about 20 feet of directional space total, and I've harvested about 10 to 12 individual melons from this one plant. Now this was a variety called Sugar Cube. I've never grown it before, but it apparently is a very prolific one, and it seems to like the wood chips just fine. The other thing, of course, is I have a zinnia here that's growing really well. I've got a Tulsi basil at the end there that is one of the biggest Tulsi basils I've ever grown. So I don't think the nutritional issue is a problem. So I'm hoping that the wood chips, A, are usually free, so that is cheaper than soil in the first place. B, they should be inoculated with some sort of fungal life that hopefully found it, and that should also improve the nutrient capacity of this bed in general. And the wood chips themselves are basically a sponge, so they hold on to fertilizer, water, things like that for a bit longer than just a standard raised bed mix will probably do. So very pleased with it. The next thing I want to do here is actually remove all these plants because they're fine, but I just want to restart. I want a clean slate. I'm sick of replanting things on a continuous basis across my garden. Every once in a while, I just like to rip everything out and start from scratch. Before we dig into this though, I am going to set aside all of the straw mulch, which we're going to reuse at the end. And actually, I want to refertilize this bed as well, and the easiest way to do that is to mix it into the soil, so I'm going to move all the irrigation lines out of the way. It's officially time to dig up this bed and see what lies beneath. So I'm going to skim the top because the top should be just plain old soil, and I'm trying to keep it as segregated as possible because, like I said earlier, you really don't want wood chips to mix with your soil. The lignin, the hard part of the wood itself, does not break down very easily. Bacteria can break it down, although it has always historically struggled, which is why we actually have coal deposits throughout geologic time, because one of the theories was that essentially when wood first came on the scene, bacteria had not evolved the ability to consume it. The other thing I wanted to mention really quickly was that this bed was just irrigated this morning. So if you see it and it looks like it's pretty damp, actually, to me, it seems like perfectly watered at this point. It doesn't look overly wet or dry in any areas, which is great to see considering I've been using drip irrigation. I think I just got to the first visible wood chip in here. So we're starting to see some woody material. So what I'm going to do now is shovel again directly into this. Maybe we need to go one more skim layer before we get to the wood itself. So now I'm remembering that when I filled this bed, I did mix in a bunch of vermiculite, and I'm starting to see that down here. It's starting to get shiny and sort of reflective, and that's pretty typical of vermiculite. It looks like it's sort of crumbled into soil. Like essentially it looks like a lot of the soil you see on the market now, which has composted wood in it. Here's a bigger chunk of wood. It has roots wrapped literally inside of it, like they're inside the wood itself. So that's a great sign. It's actually coming out the other end. So that's super cool to see because wood is such a good sort of spongy material. It's able to hold on to water nutrients, and that's exactly what I was hoping would happen. I'll set that one aside so we can look at that a little more closely. So what I'm seeing in here, there we go, some more wood. Now if I break it, it still looks actually kind of woody inside, which is interesting to see. But the wood chips themselves, they've mostly vanished. Here's another chunk. It's one of the bigger wood chips I found in here. And it's friable, but it's still pretty solid, which is totally expected. This has only been in the ground for a year, guys. Wood takes a long time to break down, even when it is chipped up like this. So basically what's gonna happen is that when the plants are growing, they're gonna send roots down, and they don't have to go very far before they hit this wood chip layer, which is essentially a sponge full of nutritious water. Does not smell anoxic. There's plenty of oxygen in there. There's critters, there's bugs all throughout it. So this is actually a fantastic method. This is something that moving forward, I will 100% be adding chipped up wood to the base of my raised beds. So let's go ahead and backfill this. We'll refertilize this bed, and then we'll plant it out in a full summer fashion, because I got quite a few seedlings which are quite mature now that need a home, and this is the perfect place for them. So now it's time to refertilize or refeed this bed, and what I have in this bucket here is my little blend of the Fox Farm fruit and flower granular fertilizer. So that's like an all-purpose, like semi-balanced one that's more focused on the fruiting side. I blended it with crab shell meal and also worm castings and azomite. Now the worm castings give it a little bit of a biological activity. The azomite gives it trace minerals because it's rock dust. And of course the crab shell meal is going to provide chitin, which bacteria consume. And when you get a lot of chitin consuming bacteria, they also, in theory, help consume your bad root knot nematodes. Now, has that worked for me thus far? Not really, but the science says that it should, so I'm continuing to try it. So I'm gonna scatter it across this whole bed, and then we'll rake it in with this potato fork here, my favorite tool that I got at the garage sale. And then from there, we'll replant it with a full summer garden. And I think I have an interesting mix of plants that I wanna put in here. In case you're wondering, that was a pretty decent amount of fertilizer added to this bed, but all of it is organic, it's slow release, it has to break down. And also I have not really deeply fertilized this bed since I first set it up. So now I am gonna add a little bit more new soil. Particularly this side seems a little bit lower. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe I just preferentially filled that side and not this side. But regardless, I think about 2 bags should do us here. The bed is back in order, it's fertilized, the irrigation's on, and it's time to plant. Now, what do I have here? Well, I've got 3 ultra mature tomato seedlings that I started from seed. Oh, I want to say just over a month ago at this point. They're starting to get a little bit long in the tooth, and they definitely either need to go in the ground, get potted up, or get composted. So these are 3 different heirlooms. I've got Kellogg Breakfast, which, by the way, has become my favorite new tomato that I've grown in recent memory. It is orange, it's a little bit bicolor yellow, but it's a dense, creamy, super interesting flavored tomato. That's why I'm planting another one. I cannot let that flavor go. Then I've got the Magia Rose. That is a Bulgarian one. So actually that's the first Bulgarian tomato in, not the first, the second Bulgarian tomato in ground this year. And then Woodstock, which is a multicolored variety. It's like one of those green reds, but it has a very, very delicious taste. And then I have 3 of the perpetual spinach green chards. I'm gonna put them in this back row, similar to like what I had back here. And then I also have a Moon and Stars watermelon on one side. And that, of course, I got at the nursery, as you could tell. And then I have a second watermelon here. This is the Densuke Black Diamond. Now, I just want to try more melons here because I had such good success with that classic kind of cantaloupe that I figured maybe I could also pull off a watermelon in this area. And I have a lot of rambling space in this back wall section here because I haven't fully established my native garden there yet. For companion planting, I've got some Noga Prospera basil. This is the downy mildew resistant variety. And I also have a lot of lettuces that I'm going to interplant throughout any empty spaces. So first thing I want to do is lay everything out. I'm thinking tomatoes on that side to cast less shadow into the garden, but also to cast a little shadow on my chart. And then I also want to put the watermelon on either front corner of either side of this bed because I want it to sprawl in that direction. So let's do a little layout and then we'll get everything in the ground. So I feel pretty good about this major plant layout. So I want to get those in the ground before we lay out all these companions, which are the basil and the lettuce. And hopefully maybe I could find some flowers in the back as well. What I ended up doing is offsetting, splitting the difference between each tomato for the chard and biasing it that way because I already got this nice big beautiful zinnia on this side. And I don't know what I'll put in this exact spot yet, but maybe I'll find another thing lurking in the back there. But first, let's get all these planted, committed to their final resting space. After digging up this bed and discovering that beautiful, well decomposed or slightly decomposed wood chip layer down deep, I am going to dig super deep and put the root ball of the tomato right on top of that wood chip layer. That way it basically has guaranteed access to water no matter what happens because that wood chip base is just so good at retaining moisture. Like I said, it turns into a sponge over time, and already I squeezed out one wood chip and water burst out. So I know I essentially have a beautiful sponge down there that should keep this tomato extra happy and healthy. So hopefully that works out in our favor. And now let's figure out the companion planting and where all these little side characters are going to go. I decided I'm gonna put a basil between each of these tomatoes. So I'm gonna do one right here between these two, and then another in the tomato right behind me. So second basil grouping is gonna go right here. And then I have some lovely Thai basil here, which I'm going to put on the back corners closer to the kitchen, just so that I'm reminded that it exists. I could smell it from a distance because, oh boy, is Thai basil fragrant. And then as for the lettuce itself, I'm going to go down this middle row, and I think I'm gonna just max it out with lettuce basically. Why not? It should get enough water in this bed especially, should get protected by the tomatoes as they start to grow, giving them a little more shade. The chard will take a while to swamp this bed. Eventually it will, of course. So hopefully we'll be able to pull this lettuce before then. This is a butter crunch variety that I'm putting in down the center. And then I have a classic romaine. What I'm going to do with this one is put it right in between the difference, like the middle point between the two chards. This should grow again fast enough that I think I'll be able to harvest it before the chard gets too big. Now, if there are multiples in here, if you have the time, you could try to split them. In this case, I'm gonna rip it and just go to a single lettuce per planting. Now what I'm going to do is spread out the straw in a thin layer across the surface of the bed as best as I can. It's not that much straw anymore, but it should be just enough to keep the moisture in the bed. Now that the bed is fully planted, the last thing that I need to figure out is the trellis for the tomatoes, which luckily I have already figured out. In this case, I am going to be using these Texas tomato cages. Now I bought some, I wanna say 2 or 3 years ago, and I do like them. I actually think they're a great product. They're very sturdy, they fold up. They can be a little pricey. I think I paid, wow, actually sounds like a lot. No, around $30 per trellis. Now they come in 2 different sizes. These are the smaller ones. I've already used up all my big ones. And the reason why I like these is A, they could fold up. This is 3 of the bottom halves of the trellis stacked together. Right now they're stuck together a little bit. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and throw one of these on each. Now the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't know if these tomatoes are going to be here that long. I only have 3 of them. I don't want to build a whole contraption here just for 3 tomatoes. So these bigger cages are going to do the trick for me. Now this is just the bottom half, so you'll see how big they are in a second. But let's go ahead and fit it. Pretty tall trellis. Obviously an indeterminate tomato can get much bigger than this, but for what they are and how easy they are to just throw on the bed, I'm very pleased with them. So quick note on these tomatoes. For most people, planting tomatoes right now probably seems crazy, but here in San Diego, I have another solid 3, maybe even 4 months of tomato growing. The only thing that's decreasing is the sunlight, which is not ideal for larger tomatoes like these, but I should still get a decent harvest, especially towards September. And at that point, it's honestly gonna get so hot that the tomatoes will probably stop fruiting. Another reason why I want to use these cages is because A, there may not be the tallest cage in the world, but it should be plenty of room for these next couple of 3 months. And then if the tomatoes start to look sad or they stop fruiting, I could just rip them out, remove the cages without having to remove all this other infrastructure. Now, overall, what do I think about the wood chip method? 2 thumbs up. I don't really see any downsides. A, it's almost always free to get wood chips. B, they've decomposed beautifully. They turn into a spongy layer. It kind of feels like a forest floor. There's no swampy smell. It's just kind of ideal soil down there. So I think this is going to be a beautiful thing. I'm going to continue using this method whenever I fill future raised beds, whether they're short or tall. And I cannot wait to get some big juicy watermelons out of this bed and hopefully some big juicy tomatoes. One final note is that it's not just about throwing wood chips in the bottom of your bed. There was some prep, some layering that I did. So check out the original video right over here if you're curious. But other than that, let me know what you think down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.